Right, so with this being a pretty difficult track, I thought I'd do some kind of video for it. Um, as you can see, done some long runs and stuff as well, so this setup drives pretty good. I would say you do have to be careful with the throttle, but it's about as predictable as you're gonna get for this track. So if you can make it better, then fair enough. But I think it's pretty good. I reckon you could probably load this and do pretty well. It's probably, well, it's definitely one of the better ones that's been made. That's for sure. So yeah, first corner's kind of not really that tricky, I would say. You basically want to brake somewhere around this 4 mark here. I wonder if I can do a bit of a slow-mo for it. Okay, so I'm actually hitting it at the 5. Yeah, as long as you're really on the brakes before you get into this dip, then you're going to be fine. The one thing I would say is that if you do brake too late, you're going to know about it right away, because you're just going to lock an inside tire. And you, I mean, you're probably going to slide off, but you don't have to slide off, especially if the track's clear in front of you. I would just try and pull the thing as far to the inside of the corner as you can, and just don't stay on the brakes with them locked up, because you will just slide off. But try and just lift off the pedal a bit and try and get the wheel to unlock, and just slow it down as best you can, because if you're not near somebody in this corner and you go off, you're just going to lose a ton of time, whereas you can lose like half a second here and it's not really going to matter. Nobody's going to get a run onto you in the next corner. That's just simply not a passing point. Well, I'm willing to be proved wrong on that one, but I'm pretty certain it's not. But anyway, I guess as you see, I'm braking just before the 5 here, and really this is just kind of getting it slowed down as much as you can in a straight line. It's not ultra critical about clipping this inside corner. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I don't. You can see I'm just turning in here, basically right before this line with the arrow on it. And as you can see, I kind of missed it a little bit. I mean, it's okay, but if we look at it from the outside, you're gonna see that, yeah, like, I mean, you can tell straight away, car's going that way, corner's going this way. But as you'll see in a second right here, it's really not that critical because of how this corner works out. Basically, it's really tight initially, and then it opens out, and then it gets tighter again. Which is a horrible way to explain it, but that's really what happens. And really, it's just a case of balancing the throttle, because you want to get as much drive as you can, but you don't want to slide the truck. You see here, I'm opening out the wheel as I'm coming up this curve. I mean, I'm actually pretty on line here, so this is decent. But you can see how it starts to slide a little bit, and I'm not actually full throttle. I'm like 3/4 throttle most of the time here. And there, right, you see, just as it's straight is really where I'm full throttle. And then this next corner is pretty difficult. As you can see, you want to turn in and get left sides up on this curb. A little bit of brake as I'm getting off the gas. Now, it's real difficult because you got to do a change down before this next left-hander here. As you can see, just a ton of playing around with the throttle and brake before you grab the gear. And then you want to get it turned in and just up on this inside curb. And really, that's kind of all there is to it. But in practice, it's hard matching everything up, especially getting the thing slowed down and changing down and turning into the corner without the back end stepping out on you. But again, it's kind of like the first corner. Nobody's going to pass you here. So if you have to go a bit slower to not be out of control, I'd suggest you do it. See, now coming down to here, you can keep it in first. It will hit the limiter, but the practicalities of changing up to second is really, it's not worth it. It's a pretty slow corner. You just want to really roll it in, get as much on the inside as you can again, and then you want to get it turned back on the inside again. You can't see it because the glove's in the way, but and you can tell I'm up on the curb. And really, that's just straightening that section as much as you can. Now, this is pretty tricky. You got to get in the gas, but you want to go as wide as you can so that you can get this next turn in as straight as possible. But you got to be real careful on the gas here, especially because if you're out of shape when you start hitting the curves in the next section, you're just gonna die. Like, there's no other way of putting it. You will hit the curb at a bad angle, you'll probably survive, you'll hit the next curb at a worse angle, and then you'll spin. You can cut a lot of it without getting a 1x though, so that's pretty good. Well, by pretty good I mean at least you're not going to pick up a 1x. It's still going to be pretty difficult to control. You can see that I'm cutting a lot of this here, basically all the way to the edge of this brown section. But you can see it does get out of shape over the curb, so that's why you want to be as really straight as possible. Now you get this next section here. If you keep it in third, you will hit the limiter, but because of how tight these corners are, it's really not worthwhile changing into fourth. I tried it a couple of times, and it just makes it harder to drive, basically. Again, look, you can cut a ton on basically all of these, especially this one here. Don't be afraid of cutting across that. Now, for the right-hander, you want to slow it down so that you can really get back across to the outside edge for the left that comes afterwards. You'll see what I mean here. Maybe I can do a slow-mo. So coming through here, ton of curb, and then through here again, a lot of curb, but trying to really keep it across to the right. As you can see, you end up here. There's this little line on the track. If you're on the right of this, then you're in a good spot. Now, next corner, kind of difficult, one down change, but again, as much curb as you can get, and really just kind of power down straight. If you want the wheel straight on exit because it's actually sloping the wrong way, and if you're still turning, you're basically just gonna end up coming out of the corner in a slide. It's really important not to run wide there though. So again, if you don't think you can power through it really full chat, then don't, because you don't want to end up out on this grass, because you will not stop for this next corner and you will end up in the tires. Now, this is probably the most critical and difficult corner. I'll just rewind a touch there so you can see properly where I brake. Now, you gotta turn, slow down, and change down again. As you see on the brake before the 3, and really, there you go, the change down there, and just hold in the brake all the way through here. Try and get as close to the inside here, but let it drift out wide if you can. See a little bit of understeer there. But you really want to do a late apex for this corner whilst getting a ton of curb. As you can see, almost into the tires, but then slowly on the gas and just trying to get out of the corner, really with minimal sliding, as you can see from the wheel here. Straightaway, obviously pretty easy, but probably going to be your main passing point. So you got to run out of that hairpin there. Now, it gets a little tricky as to where to brake for here. Basically, you want to be braking in the dip because you're going to have as much load pressing the car down as possible, so you got the least chance of lockup, and you'll slow down the most in the dip. And the braking here is really in 2 stages. It's kind of well marked because you can see here there's this strip of dirt, and as you saw there, I'll just skip it back a little. You can see right as I'm coming up past this 2 marker is really where I'm getting on the brakes. Now, you want to go down a second, and then you want to keep your last down change until later on. You want to start bleeding off the brakes and get on as far left as you can. Change down right about now when you're straight, and then you really want to hug this inside curb because the next corner is a really awkward left-hander, and the further to the right here, look, I mean, you can see there's tons of track over to the right that I'm just not using at all. And then it's just a case of getting out of that corner straight, getting onto this curve as quick as you can, getting the power down. Again, 3/4 throttle, not really ever full throttle much. 1-up change there, see it kicks it sideways a little bit. Now last corner is again pretty tricky, but similar to most of the other parts of the track. The slower you enter and the straighter a straight line, you make it again look tons of curb. But you really want to get this slowed down so that you can turn in early and really cut this corner off. Now, getting the power down out of here is kind of tricky, but it's not really dangerous, so you can kind of just hammer down. I mean, you'll see here in a second it gets a little sideways, but it's okay. Yeah, they're right there. So maybe like half a tenth or something lost right there, but in the end it didn't really matter. I'll just do the lap again at full speed so that you can kind of see it all and you can see the inputs. I mean, it looks pretty wild in full speed, but it's mainly going to be about being as consistent as you can and not going off, because if you go off here, it's a huge loss because it takes you so long to get back through the grass. Got a little lucky there, I suppose. You can hear it lock up some. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a difficult track. It really is. So it's definitely one where if you push, it's gonna kill you. Like it really is. Especially a couple of corners, like the first corner, the one up by Oak Tree. If you're not confident going full speed through there, just don't, because I can guarantee you that somebody is going to crash. It's just gonna happen. It always does. It's so easy to just carry slightly too much speed into one of those corners and just go off. And you'll just pass a lot of people who make those kind of mistakes.